Hey guys, Shantifo's here by October 1st DVD update, where I talk about all the DVDs and Blu-rays I've gotten over the last 2 weeks or so. Like I always say, guys, enjoy these update videos. Definitely give this video a thumbs up. Leave me comments below what you guys thought of the titles I checked out this update. Any titles coming up that you guys would like me to review for future updates, and some of the things you guys have picked up recently. Now, the first one I got from Shout Factory Scream Factory line is the brand new collector's edition release of John Carpenter's The Thing. Such a cool, creepy movie. Basically, the idea, though, is there's this creature that was, like, found in the snow, that was, buried out in the snow, because it's about a team out in the, Antarctic doing, like, research out there. And there's also another team of, I think it was, like, Russians, or it was, like, the other side of where they're stationed. And you see the one guy kind of running after them, out by where they are, where the Americans are. And he's like kind of has a gun. He's going after the one guy, and he's also has this dog with him. He's kind of like something's really off with him. He's trying to kill the dog, but you basically find out though that there's something going around that's kind of taking over people, where you don't know who is, really that person. Like, it's a certain type of an alien type substance that's on this, where they are in the Arctic, and it's basically taking over the people, and it kind of becomes, Kurt Russell and all the people on his team kind of not knowing who is who and who is taken over by this alien. And it's a very cool movie, really an amazing setting. Probably one of my favorite John Carpenter movies next to They Live. Really cool movie. And it has on here, though, a brand new 2K scan of the film on here, and it has on here as well new interviews with the cast and crew. And one thing too is I don't think it's ever been on a release before, as far as I can remember. It has on here the network TV broadcast version of the thing, so it's very cool that they included that in there, because when they have like the TV versions of movies, same with like films like Summer Rental and some of those ones, which would be cool if they ever did a Blu-ray of that, if they put the TV cut, because they always have like some stuff that was cut, or alternate versions of like lines, and like more PG versions of the takes and stuff like that. I don't know if they still do that with movies now or not, but they used to always do that. But that's very cool that they included that on here. Also has on here though a condensed version of the film with alternate footage, behind the scenes, but a really cool new release with really great new artwork on this one. The next one from Scream Factory as well is the brand new Carrie collector's edition, the Brian De Palma film. Really love this movie. Really a huge fan of Brian De Palma's films. Like, one of my favorite ones is always, Body Double and then Blowout. Those are the ones that I always watch the most. But this one, too, has really, really cool music. And, they also made, the remake of this one a couple of years back, with Chloe Grace, which wasn't a bad remake. And then they also had the other TV, they had like a TV remake of this one as well. But the original is always the best of all the, the Carrie movies. And this on here has, a new 4K scan of the film from the original negative, as well as, some new interviews on here. And one of the things, too, is I really like is, Sean Clark's Horrors Hallowed. It's called Horrors Hallowed Ground. So it's basically him going to the filming locations and showing, what they look like now, the school and like the meat factory, and then the meat places actually looks very similar. It's kind of cool to see how some of these areas are like identical looking now, like they have not changed at all. But basically, though, if you don't know the Carrie film, it's about this girl who's kind of like a really shy girl at school, and people really give her all kinds of problems, and she doesn't really have any friends or anything, and she comes from this like super religious background. Her mother is like really crazy, and she's giving her all kinds of problems, and is like saying all, like, if she tries to go out and puts on these certain dresses, she says like, cover up those dirty pillows. There's like these great scenes in this. Like, the mom plays it so crazy in this, and the girls at school are all taunting her in the shower and giving her all kinds of problems. She has all kinds of issues. But what's going on though is she has basically the ability, to telepathy, like to move things and control things with her mind. And you kind of know, though, it's like the movie all leads up to like what happens in the school. I don't want to ruin anything, but it gets to the point where the bullying gets so bad, what the point and what it goes to. But really, really, really great movie. Have always been a fan of this movie, and like a great new release of this, like I said, with a brand new 4K scan transfer of this one. And the next one from Scream Factory as well, and this I believe was for a Chiller TV movie, and the director of this directed a movie which I really loved, which is a very underrated movie called The Night Flyer. I believe it's The Night Flyer, that Stephen King was like. I'm pretty sure it was a Stephen King book. Let me see if I have it right here to show. I'm pretty sure it was called The Night Flyer. Yeah, right here. Yeah, Stephen King's. If I can get it out of here now, but it was this movie he called Stephen King's The Night Flyer. So I believe this one's out of print and very hard to find. one that would be very cool if we got a Blu-ray release down the line. But this is actually his second movie. He hasn't done a movie since 1997, so he finally came back to do a new movie, and the movie was really, really cool. I really love this movie. It's called Fender Bender. It's basically about this guy who basically hits people's cars to cause some damage to them, and then he gets like their information, like their address, and basically that's kind of his thing, is he goes around to towns and hits people's cars and then gets their information, and then like goes over to their house that night and like stalks them and kills them in these like crazy ways. And what he does, and he's wearing this like insane mask in this movie. The mask and the wardrobe on him was great. Like they really did a good job. And they also they were trying to have like a real 80s feel, and they were, some movies when they try and do that, it's like kind of like doesn't really work, or it's not super successful. To me, this really worked and really felt in a lot of ways like a lost 80s movie, like a movie I haven't seen in a long time. And the music in this one was really amazing 80s synth in this that really fit. And the one actress is Makenzie Vega. I didn't even know it's Alexis Penny Vega's sister, and I didn't even know she had a sister that was acting. She was actually very good in this. Same with the guy who was the driver, who's like the guy who hits people with his cars. He was actually very cool as well. But what ends up happening, though, is the girl's, getting, going to be going to this kind of concert with her parents, but that night, during the day, she ends up getting hit by this guy with a car, and her parents are really angry at her, going, I can't believe you got in this accident, even though she, they were giving her all these problems when it wasn't even her that did it. The guy hit her from behind, but they are really mad that she did this and thought that she somehow had something to do with it. So she ends up basically getting like grounded, and the parents are like, you know what, you can't go to this concert. So she gets really upset about it. And of course, though, they leave her in the house, and then she immediately starts getting these calls, and she sees this kind of a car driving around the neighborhood, and then her friends end up coming over, and that's when, of course, this guy comes and comes for them. But like I said, I actually this is one of those movies that gets my top recommendation. I love this movie so much. Was so successful, at least to me, with being a real 80s style movie, and it's one of those ones too I can really see myself going back and watching a lot. Like I really thought this was cool. And it has on here though it's a kind of a cool feature, which is the retro VHS cut of the movie, when they put it through like effects and stuff like that to give it a real VHS feel. And it really does look like a VHS because they kind of cropped it in and made it full screen. It has on here though a commentary track, behind the scenes featurette, and as well as a commentary track. But like I said, hopefully the director too keeps making more movies now, because like I said, he hadn't done a movie since 1997. Love The Night Flyer. And he's back, and this was, to me, I really liked this one. The next one from Universal, and it's another one that I really liked. I've liked all the movies, but this one had like slightly like some kind of over the top aspects of it that I really liked a lot, especially like the schoolgirl characters that are talking about their candy, and like since they're getting really over the top mad and stuff. Like I really love that stuff in this. This really felt like, I don't know, like out of all the Purge movies, I like the craziness of this one the most. And this was, the Purge election year. And the slipcover has a cool look to this. It's like kind of like a, I don't know how you explain what it is, but it's got kind of like a paper kind of look to it, like a different kind of slipcover look. It's like not a slimy, like a glossy kind of look to this. And this is basically though, I think it was set was it a couple years after the last Purge, and it's basically set during the election time where there's two candidates. This one woman who's running for president, who's really against the Purge and kind of wants it to end, and she's going to do everything she can to kind of stop it because she doesn't agree with it. The other guy who's like rich and really into continuing the Purge, and hopefully it continues going on. He believes in it, and she really wants to end this. And that night though, she basically those people from his team that are for again keeping the Purge around go after her. And it's kind of all set to it during the time of because it kind of deals with another group of people too who have this kind of store that they're running, this convenience shop, and they kind of want to, it's going to get shut down because the guy who owns it wants to charge them more rent, so they kind of want to try and protect this place, because also these girls that he didn't want to sell this stuff to are coming after, and those are the schoolgirl characters that are coming there and causing them grief. So it's all this kind of stuff, all the different characters going on, and him basically the guy from the second movie trying to protect the woman who's who's running for president, who wants to get rid of the Purge. That's essentially what it is all that stuff that's going on. But like I said, out of all the Purge movies, the first one is my favorite, but then I think this one, I like the second one, but there was just something about this one, like I said, some of the over-the-top aspects of this, and the craziness of this one that I really, really liked a lot. And I thought, too, it just felt a little bit different to me, and I felt like, because you kind of ran into too, like, the most characters in this as well, like the most problematic issues they kept running into, different types of gangs out there and all this kind of stuff. And I felt they really did the idea of actually the purge and what was going on. To me, it worked the most in this one. It has on here, though, deleted scenes, inside the purge, and a character spotlight in this. The next one, these are two, it's a movie, two guys from YouTube, CSI and Caspar Lee. And I think when I first heard about this one, I watched their video talking about the trailer, but I have never actually seen their videos. I need to look at their videos. It also has a couple other YouTubers in here making cameos, like Bart Baker is in here, who does like the spoof music videos. There's a couple other, I think, Tazon Day, who does that, that chocolate rain, he's in this acting. And I think the guy who is the bully, I was looking him up too, and I believe he's a YouTuber as well. And this is one of those comedy movies, because after I watched this, I was like, this is actually like one of those movies that I really liked, comedy movie-wise, because there's a lot of this is like kind of in the style of Superbad. It's a movie called Late in America, and it kind of has that Superbad kind of feel to this. It also has sort of a feel too of like a early 2000s kind of movie, like a She's the Man type, like those kind of like maybe 2005 kind of movies, like in like a good way, because like I really like this movie. Bobby Lee is also in this movie, and he's very, very funny in this. He's been kind of coming back and being in a lot of stuff lately. And the movie's basically, though, about these two guys. They're foreign exchange students. The one guy is from South Africa. The other guy is from the UK, and they're in America, and they're kind of staying together at this family's house, and they've been there together for a year, and they're getting ready to go back home the next day, and they realize that they have not had sex with any women at all and been laid at all in America. And they're talking to their principal, because the principal is like giving them their certificates for passing for being there the year, and he's like giving them all this stuff, saying, I can't believe that you haven't had sex with anybody. The principal's character was great. He was in a bunch of movies, that guy, but he's basically saying to them, if you can't get laid in America, you're not going to get laid anywhere. So they kind of get the idea that they're going to have to get laid. They have this one night to figure this out, to finally get laid, and they both have the opportunity to at this party. But the party they want to go to, where they have these two girls that they think they're actually going to hook up with, they can't go to it because the one guy's this bully and doesn't want them there. So they kind of talk him into saying, is there any way we can go? Is there any way you let me go? And he's like, oh, you can go, but if you bring two hot women, not girls from the school, but you have to find two hot women to bring here. So the movie's basically their quest to try and find women to bring to this party. And it's like all these situations that go on. They go on a site kind of like Tinder, and they put on there that they have all this money, and they try and do that. But then, of course, though, it's like a setup, and that's how Bobby Lee comes into it. But it's basically them with this whole ordeal of a night of trying to find these women to take to the party so they can do this. But like I said, it kind of has that Superbad type feel, and it also has in here a making of documentary on this. But like I said, if you guys have seen this one, let me know, what you guys thought, and also let me know some of their videos to check out. Like I said, I have not really seen their stuff, but they're actually very good. And like when it comes to like YouTube movies, when like YouTube people acting in it, I think that this was the strongest one that I've seen out of all the other, because there's been a couple other ones recently, but they both were very strong in this, and I definitely hope they do a sequel to this, because like I said, I actually really like this one. I feel like it may be even bigger in the UK, since I think they're more known in the UK, but I'm not certain though. The next one from Lionsgate, and this is one of those movies that's going to be on my list, I can guarantee, for one of my favorite movies of this year. It's a movie called Swiss Army Man, starring Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe. Like I said, Swiss Army Man, and this movie was so good, and like this was like an absolutely amazing movie. It's basically Paul Dano is stranded on this island, and he's very depressed, and you see him there in the beginning of the movie. He goes to hang himself, and of course it doesn't go well, and then he ends up seeing the rope breaks, and he's stuck on this island, and he ends up seeing this body wash up onto the up onto the ocean, and it's Daniel Radcliffe's as the dead body that washes up. And he basically becomes like friends with this corpse, but he's like sees the corpse, and he's like kind of thinks that the corpse really isn't dead, because the corpse is like farting, and you also see like all of a sudden he starts like talking to him, and because you're kind of thinking like, is he dead? You know what I mean? Like, you're kind of wondering that the entire time, like, is this corpse dead? Is he imagining this? Because it just kind of fits in all these ways. And then when he's on this island, though, when he's there, there's these amazing sequences of him, like, kind of talking about his own Paul Dano talking about his own problems and talking about how he wishes he did this when he was, wasn't stranded, and he had this girl that he liked, and he wishes he did this, and they're kind of like talking through their problems, and they're inventing these amazing things where they're like, Paul Dano's dressing up as the woman that he likes, and it's like this relationship between them he makes these elaborate sets too, and he makes things looks like he's on the bus, and these huts and these things that he's making. It's such a really well made movie. And some really interesting sequences in this one. But it has on here, though, deleted scenes, a Q&A with a filmmaker, behind the scenes, and a commentary track. But like I said, guys, this one, I absolutely love this movie so much. I'd highly recommend you guys check this one out. The next one is one I was really interested in seeing, because a lot of people have been talking about this and saying how it's kind of like Mel Gibson going back to doing like a Mad Max type movie. And it definitely does have that kind of vibe to this. It sort of has a mix of like Taken mixed with like Mad Max, that kind of thing going on. The movie's called Blood Father, and it's also more of a drama in a lot of ways too. It's basically about Mel Gibson is a guy who's like had all kinds of alcohol problems and been in and out of AA, and he recently got out of jail, and he kind of knows about like the gangs and the bad groups of people and stuff around in the area where he lives. And his daughter has gone missing his 17-year-old daughter has been missing for like 3 years. He doesn't know where she is, and all of a sudden he gets a call from her that she's in trouble because she ended up basically getting linked up to these bad group of guys that are like going around robbing money and like gangs, and like they're all this really bad stuff, and she ends up shooting the one guy because the guy's basically saying, "You're only alive because of me," to the girl. And he's like, because when they're robbing this house, he puts the gun in her hand and says, "You shoot that guy, and I'll, you proved yourself to me that you really want to be here with me, and you really want to, me having you not shot by these guys was a good thing, and you're loyal to me." Of course, so she doesn't want to do that, and she ends up shooting the guy, goes running off, and she ends up calling her father, and her father basically is trying to help her, and because like he's like can't believe he's seeing her again because it's been years since he's seen her. Of course, though, it becomes this huge nightmare because the people that she went after, she ended up shooting that guy. That gang that was with him is kind of coming after her, and they're sending this like really terrible hitman guy, these tattoos on his face, after her, and it's like a nightmare of a situation. And it deals with they're kind of getting back together after not seeing each other pretty much her whole life, and their kind of drama of that going on. But very, very well acted movie, and it's kind of a downer too. It really did have some downer aspects to it, but Mel Gibson really did come back with this movie strong. Like he really, I don't know, he was very, very good in this. Like I've liked most of Mel Gibson's movies. I know, like, some movies have been better than others, but for this, and he takes like big breaks between films, because I think this is his first movie since like 2011, acting wise, I think. But I don't know, I really did, like I said, really like this one. It's a very, very brutal movie, very violent and stuff like that, but really he did a very good job in this one. It has on here, though, a featurette on the movie. The next one from Lionsgate as well is a movie called Joshi. This has the one guy who was in The Final Girls, and he was recently in The Bronze. And, Nick Kroll is in this movie. Aubrey Plaza has a small part in this film. And it's basically a movie called Joshi. It's about a guy who has, he's basically getting ready to get married. He's, the wedding is coming up. And, the bachelor party, all that stuff is planned. But his girlfriend ends up killing herself she hangs herself. And it becomes very depressing for him. And it's a number of months later, he ends up calling up his friends and saying that, they had this, like, bachelor party that they were planning, and it was coming up, and he calls them up and says, that place that we have is non-refundable, and what if we all got together and kind of just hung out and had like a guys' night out there at the cabin that they were going to go to for the bachelor party anyway, even though it's kind of gloom and doom because of what happened to his, soon-to-be wife, because she killed herself. Maybe they can get together, and they all kind of are like, okay, yeah, we'll see you, because they don't want to let him down, and they know he's like upset about this, so they end up getting together. It's kind of like them all getting together, and like the friends have their own set of problems as well, so they have like problems as well. So it's kind of like them all kind of discovering all their issues, and people that you kind of think are like the friends that are all perfect, they've got their own set of problems going on. And then it's kind of them there kind of doing a lot of drinking and then trying to pick up girls and stuff that are around in the area where they are. I thought this was actually pretty good here. The director of this also did I think Life After Beth, which I actually won, Aubrey Plaza starred in that one. But I really loved Life After Beth, and this is actually a very good like character piece. Like I said, really like the actor, the main, Thomas Middleton, who was from, the Bronze. The next one here is, and this is a pretty good horror movie. This actually took a while to come out in the U.S. I think it came out like everywhere else in like 2012. It's a movie called Six Plots, and it's like basically though about like these friends that end up going to this party, and it kind of all deals with cell phones and that kind of stuff. And all the friends go to this party, and now basically something happened to them, and they all got knocked out. And then the one girl ends up waking up, and all the friends are missing, and she's like on her cell phone getting this text with this kind of smiley face guy. It's saying like, you must figure out where your friends are, and they're basically locked in these kind of like coffins, and you don't know where they are. And you see like one of them, they have like water coming into the coffin. The other one is like, she's like, I'm covered in gasoline. The other one has like bugs coming in. So you're like kind of like wondering, where are these buried? You don't know where these are. And she ends up having to try and figure out how to find these friends and kind of like solve the riddle of where they are. And the rules are though, you can't call no parents, no police, and all that kind of stuff. Of course, though, before she knows about this, one of the girls in the coffin didn't hear this text, ends up calling her father, so that causes a whole big to-do, because the father knows, and if you break any of these rules, you end up getting killed, these like terrible deaths and stuff. Like I said, I actually like this one. I'm pretty sure it's an Australian movie, but I don't know, like I like this one. It wasn't like perfect in all the senses and everything, but I like these kind of movies when they're like kind of trapped in coffins and like people are trying to figure out what's going on. They said it's kind of like, Saw meets Buried, and it does kind of have that feel to this, and I like that thing that they were getting on the phone of like the smiley face guy, and if you did things wrong, it would like do this kind of stuff and put like images of people burning and like fire and all this kind of stuff. I don't know, like I said, I like this one. Like I said, it's 6 plots. Let me know if what you guys thought, if you've seen this, and also has on here a making of the movie. The next one, and I believe this is the 15th Final Fantasy one. I'm pretty sure, unless I'm reading the numbers wrong, but this is the brand new Final Fantasy film called Kingsglaive. I believe that's how you say it. It's Final Fantasy 15. And this has, Aaron Paul, Lena Headey, and Sean Bean in this one. And the brand new game is coming out. I think it's either out or coming out very soon. This is kind of like the companion piece to the brand new game that's coming out. I remember like seeing one of the Final Fantasy films in theaters. I remember years back. I can't remember if it was the first movie. I felt like it was kind of like a horror movie a little bit. I can't even remember though. I remember seeing it though in theaters and really liking that one that I saw in theaters. I think some of these ones have come to theaters. This is kind of hard to explain. That's basically though about the king that's trying to protect his kingdom, and they have this kind of crystal, and it's like the other group of people who are trying to come after them and steal them, and it's kind of like the battles and all that kind of stuff that go along the way of this. And it's more one of the things though, like I'm not too familiar with the games, so it's very difficult for me to explain, but it's all done through motion capture technology, the animation, and the animation in this is very, very strong, like really, really looks good. Like I remember thinking the original movie, the original one that I had seen in theaters looked really good, and this one looks very good, and has on here though a number of different featurettes on here. Epic and vocals, talking to the vocal cast of the the U.S. version of this, as well as a number of other featurettes on this one as well. But like I said, this is from what I was hearing though, it's more of like a companion piece that kind of fits along to the new game though. The next one from Sony as well is a movie called Complete Unknown, which stars Rachel Weisz and Michael Shannon. And this is a pretty interesting movie about Rachel Weisz and Michael Shannon, who were kind of a couple that were together, and all of a sudden his wife had one point, I think it was like 15 years or 20, no, it says 20 years earlier, his wife had gone missing. He didn't know what happened to her. She kind of just all of a sudden vanished. And this is years later. He's going to this party, and he ends up going there, and he sees his wife there, and he believes that it's his wife, and he's kind of like looking at her real weird and thinking like that he knows her, and he's like becomes convinced that he believes that that's his wife, and it's kind of like the thing going on there when he's trying to do this and trying to talk to her, and she ends up kind of walking off and leaving the party. He kind of like follows after her. He's just trying to figure out exactly what's going on and why she left, and if this really is his wife, or he's just like being crazy about the whole thing. And you kind of start to discover more and more about their past, because it kind of flashes back to things with them, and back to like you're finding out a little bit more about them along the way. But it has on here though a commentary track with the director, but a pretty interesting one, pretty interesting character piece, and always a fan though of Michael Shannon, you know, in pretty much everything he's done. He's always very strong. And this really, too, was a very cool movie. And, you know, Kathy Bates is also in this movie as well. The next one from Paramount is a movie called Approaching the Unknown, which stars Mark Strong and Luke Wilson. And this is an interesting kind of movie. It was like, the movie is basically about the first man to go to Mars. And he's basically going in this one-man, like, you know, kind of rocket into space to go there. And he's basically, though, it's kind of like he's basically the only person really in the movie for a lot of parts of the film, because it's basically him going up into Mars, you know, to the journey of Mars, and it kind of cuts to him on the spaceship, and he's talking to Luke Wilson, who's the guy on the TV, who's like in NASA, kind of talking to him, going, well, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you, you know, tested this? And it cuts back to him talking to him. Then he also talks to reporters and like school kids that kind of call into him while he's up in space, saying, are you nervous about this? And do you think you're going to make it there? And all that. And it kind of cuts to him back to, you know, Earth when he was kind of doing the test and kind of planning for this and kind of doing all the experiments and stuff like that to prepare to go up there. But though it's what happens though is when he's going along up there, things start to go wrong little by little, and things start to kind of fall apart. And it's him trying to hold it together and trying to figure out how to solve these kind of problems that go along up there. It's not a movie where like tons and tons and tons of stuff happen. It's a real slow burn type film, but it really was a cool movie. And like I said, if you like Mark Strong, though, he's like the main star of this movie, and it's an interesting, different kind of take of like a space movie, I would say. The next one here from Fox, and this is one I really liked. I actually thought this was actually a very funny movie. It's got Zac Efron, Anna Kendrick, Adam Devine, and Aubrey Plaza. And it's a movie called Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. It's basically about, you know, Zac Efron and Adam Devine, who plays these brothers, and their sister's getting ready to get married. And, you know, they're going to go to the wedding for this, but the father and their parents are saying, you know, listen, you know, every time we get together for a family event, you cause all these kind of problems, you cause all these issues, and we need you to not do that. So that you need to find dates to go with you to kind of keep you in control, kind of keep you toned down so you kind of don't go and get all crazy and kind of hold you back a little bit. So they're like, oh yeah, we'll do it. And the parents are like, they have to be nice girls. They have to be girls that are gonna, you know, classy and not gonna cause a mess and all this stuff. So they kind of come up with the idea of what are they gonna do, because they really want to go to their sister's wedding, but they don't want to let down their parents here. So they come with the idea of going on to the Wendy Williams show and talking about how they, you know, are going to pay for the trip for these girls to go to this island where they're having the wedding, and they're going to come along with them. So Aubrey Plaza and the Kennedy's characters, who are really like kind of trashy kind of girls, like hear about this, and they're like, oh, we're going to fix ourselves all up and we're going to find a way to make this work out. So they end up kind of staging like Aubrey Plaza getting hit by a car and Adam Devine's character saving her, and then they eventually take them to the island. Where was it? I think it was Hawaii. I can't remember exactly where the island was, but they take them to this island for the trip. But of course, though, when they get there, things start to go wrong, and they start to kind of one up each other, and they're not really the girls that they thought they were taking there. They're like kind of just basically like the female counterpart versions of them, and it becomes like a huge problem when they're there. Has on here though deleted scenes, alternate storyline, gag reel, Funny or Die shorts, Linorama, tons and tons of features on this one, like over 90 minutes of features on this one. But like I said, I actually thought this was a very funny movie. The next one is the complete and final season of Mike and Molly. Yes, this is the final season. I think it's the 6th season of the show. And so I've only occasionally watched this show here and there, but I really like, Melissa McCarthy. A lot of the side characters in this one too are very funny. Basically, though, the show is basically about Mike and Molly's marriage, and kind of they deal with like a lot of problems with their with dieting and kind of all kinds of different issues that go along. In this one, they're having a lot of family issues and kind of arguments about different things that are going on in here. And like I said, this is the final season of the show. But it has on here, though, the gag reel on the show. But if you guys are a fan of the show, definitely pick this one up. Like I said, it's the complete 6th season of Mike and Molly. And the next one from Anchor Bay is a movie called Wild Oats. This stars Shirley MacLaine and Jessica Lange. This is actually a very fun movie. It's basically, though, about Shirley MacLaine, whose husband recently passed away, and she's getting ready to get the insurance check for $50,000, but she finds out her friend, played by Jessica Lange, is sick, and and her, basically he's making her kind of wonder what she's going to do. And she gets this check, though, and it was accidentally written to her for $5 million. So she comes with the idea of like, well, maybe we can take a trip with this money, and maybe we can, so she's like, well, let's just spend this money. So they come with the idea of going to this island, taking this trip. Of course, though, the insurance company catches on very early on and figures out where they are and kind of comes to the island to try and find them. So it becomes this huge to-do of them kind of wandering off and trying to figure out exactly how they're going to dodge this guy. It's like, and the guy was great, the guy who plays the insurance guy, and they also meet the other guy in this one too was, Billy Connolly, and he's like a guy that they end up meeting on the island that the one starts to like, but you're kind of figuring out like maybe he's not exactly who he says he is, and there's all these kind of schemes going on because they figure out about the money. It kind of has like slightly like a grumpy old man kind of feel to this movie a little bit. Like, I don't know, I thought this was a really, really fun movie, and both of them together, Shirley MacLaine and Jessica Lange, were great, and there was just like some really funny sequences in this, especially the insurance guy who comes to the island trying to get them back and bring them back. I don't know, I really like this one because it deals with all this stuff with the money and if they're figuring out what they're going to do, and I don't know, I really like this one a lot. Definitely I would say worth checking out. And the next one from Welga USA is Phantom of the Theater. It's a pretty cool movie. Like, it's set in I think it was like the 1920s or 1930s, and it's basically in the beginning of this movie, though, there was this this kind of acting troupe that all ends up dying in this terrible fire in this theater, and years later there's this director who wants to make this film in this theater, and it deals with these two actresses, and one of them is kind of, they both of them were up for the same award, and they both ended up winning the same Best Actress type award. And the director is kind of really stalking this, that wants to make this movie in this theater. He's stalking this one actress that he really wants to get in this film, and she doesn't want to hear him. He hasn't done anything. She's like, ah, yeah. But he's trying to get her the script, and later that evening the woman is with this kind of more established director talking about a project, and he ends up watching this director put this drug into the drink, and he ends up saying, don't drink the drink, and the actress ends up drinking it, but she ends up going on with him, the guy who was like the stalker guy who wanted her to be in this movie. And he's like, oh, kind of trying to talk to her about the script, and because of him kind of saving her from this guy and everything, she's kind of feels compelled to have to do this movie. So she ends up agreeing to do this film, and they film it in that old theater where the fire happened. Of course, though, when they get there, bad things start to happen in the theater. People start dying, and there's like these creepy ghosts and stuff. There's some pretty cool sequences of ghosts. They kind of remind me like a little bit of like the Haunted Mansion type ghosts. There's just some really creepy stuff with like the fire sequences and stuff going on here, and what's happening to the actors in this, and the crew and stuff while they're making this movie in this old theater. But pretty cool, creepy movie here. The next one, this one is from Real Gore Releasing. It's this movie called Masks. Let's cover this in case anyone says anything about this on the cover. But it's a movie called Masks, and it's basically a kind of like a movie. It's very similar to kind of like a Suspiria type film, but deals with more like within the acting kind of world. And it's basically, though, kind of I would say it's about this one girl who ends up like kind of auditioning for things, and she's like not having any luck. And when she's with this one audition, the guy who's there like gives her this pamphlet and says, "Oh, this is a acting school." I said, "You might want to go here," and gives her the stuff to it and says, "But it's kind of hard to get into it. But I think if you're interested, you should try it out and go there and see." Of course, though, she goes to this one, and it's this place where years before these people had kind of died and bad things had happened because they had these really weird methods of acting and like these kind of torture techniques and all this kind of bad stuff that they were doing to kind of get the performances out of the actors. Of course, though, she goes there and ends up getting accepted into the school, and of course, like, she starts kind of experiencing these kind of techniques that like were going on there in the past. A very cool film. Like I said, it definitely has like an Italian feel. It's a German movie, but it has like an Italian type feel, kind of like I said, a feel of like Suspiria, with really weird, creepy characters going on. It has in here, though, the soundtrack to this, and the music, too, definitely has a Suspiria-type vibe to this. Behind the scenes, deleted scenes on here, and a featurette on this. The next one from RLJ, and Image Entertainment, is a movie called The Mind's Eye. And this is a pretty interesting movie. It's about like a couple that are, have like the psychic abilities and kind of able to control things with their mind. It's kind of like in the idea of a movie like Scanners, that kind of feel, because some people like even said like the best Scanners sequel we never got. And it definitely does have that kind of feel of like the Scanners movies. And it's basically, though, about this couple that ends up being in this kind of like treatment facility for, because they end up getting arrested and put in this facility where they're kind of trying to hone their abilities, and there's this one guy who's like the head of the facility, and he's trying to kind of, he's like kind of up to no good. He's trying to kind of take their abilities and kind of keep it under control, but kind of inject it into himself so he has those abilities of psychic, the psychic abilities. Of course, though, they end up breaking out and running off, and it's kind of him trying to get them back because he needs them to kind of build up and become the most psychic, that ability person he can by taking all their powers and stuff like that, putting them into themselves. But it's a very cool movie. Some really cool sequences in this movie. Really cool music in this one as well. Has on here though a featurette on this movie, a commentary track, and on this one as well. But I really like this one. Like I said, they kind of say it's from like a sequel to Scanners, and it definitely does have that kind of vibe to this. The next one from E1 is a movie called Clown Town, and this is a pretty fun movie about a group of friends, and they end up getting kind of stranded, like kind of going to I think they were going to like a concert or something like that. I can't remember. They were kind of trying to go to this one town, and they end up finding like a shortcut and ending up in this clown town, where it's basically like this town. It's like an abandoned town. There's all these clowns everywhere, and they get themselves trapped out there. Yeah, because like someone took their phone, and then they had to try and get it back. And they call about the phone, and the person says, "Come meet us in this part," and that's how they find the town. And when they get there, though, they find all these clowns everywhere that are coming after them, and there's some really creepy clowns, and it's some really cool like looks of these clowns kind of coming after them and like trying to kill them. I really like this one. Like I always like movies like with clowns, and this one definitely had like really cool creepy clowns. The next one I wanted to mention this because I actually have a little part in this movie, like playing the news guy in this, and it's a movie called Krampus 2: The Devil's Return, and this one is going to be, I believe it's going to be in Walmart this Tuesday. Like I said, it's Krampus 2: The Devil's Return. I'll talk about this as well if I can see it in the stores. But it's basically though about the Krampus character. They made a lot of different Krampus films, in the last year or so. And this is on, the Krampus character who kind of steals children and, goes after them like the bad kids. And this is basically kids that are getting killed, and the cops are trying to investigate and find the Krampus character. But like I said, you can see me in this one. I play like the news guy in this. The next one here from Sector 5 Films, a movie called To Jennifer, and this is the sequel. James Cullen Bursack made the first movie. And this is a movie about a guy who's like a fan of the first movie, and he's friends with James, and he really wants to make a sequel. And it's kind of him trying to plan out how to make this sequel, and he becomes like obsessed with the idea that if he wants to make it To Jennifer, and make it more like, instead of, because the first movie was all filmed with an iPhone, he wants to make a bigger film, and he comes with the idea that he has to actually cast a woman that's actually called Jennifer. The actress has to be really a Jennifer to be the real Jennifer, and you can tell the guy is like cracked up and kind of nuts, and you can tell like he's not good, and it kind of is building up to who knows what this guy is going to do, and it kind of is about him coming from Wisconsin to LA to film this and kind of talking to the producers, doing the casting process. Felissa Rose has a cameo in this one as well, but I thought this was actually pretty good, and I think it was all filmed, I'm pretty sure, through an iPhone as well, but it was a pretty cool follow-up to this, just kind of about this obsessive guy trying to make his own film, sequel to the film. The next one here from Sector 5 Films as well is a movie called Alien Ween, and I think this is an Italian movie. I'm pretty sure it was Italian, and it's kind of a movie all set during Halloween, and it's kind of about people having this party and stuff like that. Of course, all these aliens have come down from space, and they're kind of like possessing the characters, and like there's like a pumpkin monster and all these kind of different kind of creatures coming after them at night. These very cool effects work on the creatures on this, and it's kind of people having this party and all getting attacked by these creatures. I thought this was a fun movie, like really cool visual effects in this. And the last one here is from Sector 5 Films as well. It's called 3 All Hallows Eve, or I think it's called 3 All Hallows Eve. This is an anthology movie with 3 different stories, and it's basically set around though this guy who goes into a bookstore trying to look for like a new horror book, and he finds this book called Voices from the Grave, and he starts reading it. It's kind of him reading the stories and then them coming to life of what he was reading. And it's like 3 different stories. Some pretty well done stuff in here. Some cool sequences and stuff in here. I'm blanking on some of everything that happens to this one because I watch a lot of stuff, and sometimes like everything runs together in this. But I do remember though it was 3 different horror stories in here, but were some pretty cool stuff as far as I can remember on here. But anyway though, guys, that's all for this new DVD Blu-ray update. Thanks again for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.